Today's episode of Northern Lights is presented by North Star Law Group, your trusted partner in Minnesota's burgeoning legal cannabis industry. Whether you're just starting out or looking to expand, attorney Jen Riza and her team will help you understand the latest developments, scope out risks, and find a compliant path forward in this rapidly changing field. Visit northstarlaw.com and let North Star Law Group guide you through the legal landscape with confidence. Hello, and we're back with another episode of Northern Lights. I'm your host, Tanner, joined today by John and Steve. Welcome, guys.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Hello, everyone.
Super excited to have you here. Man, we are off of a busy week here at the Minnesota Cannabis College.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So much that we've done, so much that we've been able to work with others to accomplish. Before we jump into sort of our interview today, before we jump into the news, before we try some products, we got to give a shout out to our awesome class that we held at Modest just a couple days ago as you're listening to this, but just last night as we're recording.
Yeah.
I didn't get to it. How was that?
Oh, one that was not to be missed.
Yeah.
But it was so good. It was really, really great. We had with Brian from Doug's Nugs out, shared his whole background on growing, really got a bunch of new growers caught up to how do you really grow plants and how do you help to care for these things at home. And this was a fun class because people actually got to germinate seeds that they are bringing home and are sitting at home and probably as of right now are just slowly poking out. But as of you guys watching this, maybe are starting to emerge and maybe put in soil and growing. And I love when we have classes that people don't just take away knowledge, but take away cannabis plants too.
Fun, yeah. I know with Brian being the one who did it, he is fantastic at his job. Let's just say that.
Well, he's humorous. He's knowledgeable. He's personable as well.
Yeah.
I think people were pleasantly surprised at how much they learned last night at the college.
Yeah.
I love that.
And we've talked about his cultivars in the past, but the smiles when he was telling people the names of what they were going home with. So Alien Kush Cakes and Big Chungus, which he did tell is directly related to that Bugs Bunny meme. Yeah, it's the meme come to life through huge ass cannabis plants. So people got to bring those home, and we'll be able to see some pictures of them.
I was saying we gotta maybe throw a picture in this episode so people can see this.
Oh yeah,
the breadth of Big Chungus.
Oh, absolutely will do. Well, so I know you missed this one. Don't worry. We actually, I don't know if you know this. We are a college. We have more classes coming up here. I know, super excited. I love it. Our next class is actually with a good buddy of ours, Dr. Clemon Dabney. We got Matt Robidoux. Dr. Dabs himself, talking about how not just to grow plants, but how to grow really, really big plants.
Yeah, and we've got Legacy Glassworks, Legacy Cannabis in the speakeasy for that class at the Wilderness.
Oh, yeah.
And Legacy is growing their own store. You know, they have a little grow store now in Duluth, and they're bringing in more things into Woodbury. And Josh is really excited to be a part of the Canna Connect Minnesota Cannabis College class.
Yeah.
They're going to do a great job with the speakeasy. They haven't been in the speakeasy since April 1st of the original Legacy.
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah,
Full
so
circle.
Yeah, talking with Josh today. He's super excited. I think we'll bring Matt, Clemon, and Josh on stage with Tanner to have some kind of grow conversations at the end and really bring the Wilderness, like everything we love about Modest, but bringing it back to the Wilderness and having the variety that the Wilderness allows for. That's going to make this class even better.
Yeah, it's sort of like you've been on vacation for a while. You went somewhere. It was really cool. We all loved Modest. But coming back home to the Wilderness, being able to stretch into our chairs, being able to help educate people on cannabis, I'm really looking forward to
Those
it.
are all rock stars. Matt, Clem, Josh, all rock stars in the industry right now. So do not miss.
We should throw all guests of the Minnesota Cannabis College podcast. You can go back and listen to Josh's episode. You can listen to Matt's episode. And in about like 15, 20 minutes here, you'll be listening to Clem's interview. He'll be on this one. So really looking forward to getting that class thrown together. And
shout out to Bovida. They're sponsoring the gift bag. Everybody's going to get a Bovida tote bag plus a 1 pound fresh bag. So if you're growing big plants, you might want to use Bovida products.
Cool. I'm so excited for this one. mncannabiscollege.org/grow big is where you'd go to get those tickets. You can register today. We're really looking forward to this one. I mean, we haven't had a class at the Wilderness that hasn't sold out yet, so I'd really recommend people go and get those seats quick. It's a fun space to help grow along with many other people. So come on
gonna
down.
Come out. It's going to come up faster than you think. So get your tickets ASAP.
And John, I don't know if you know this, but we actually got you a ticket to this class. So I know you missed the last one.
Go.
No worries, though. We've got a seat for you.
I'm taken care of. What about you?
Yeah. Go get your ticket today. Well, guys, this is such a great episode. We've got a ton of news that's been happening in the industry that we're going to be talking about in just a minute here. As I mentioned earlier, we've got an interview coming up with Dr. Dabs in just a little bit, talking a little bit more about his seeds that he's been selling here, talking a little bit more about his maple syrup candies that he's been selling here, but also just talking a little bit more about what people can expect to learn at that class coming up in March. It's an awesome interview. It's Dr. Dabs himself, and I mean, we all know Marcus. Marcus got a chance to sort of go off script with the doctor for a little bit.
That's a good one-on-one.
Oh yeah. Chat just here, sort of hearing some of his thoughts on the industry, hearing some of his thoughts on what it means to be a grower, and hearing what he thinks about the difference between, more of a cocoa core salt-based growing style versus a living soil growing style. I definitely encourage people to listen through all the way to that one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's a good one. All right. Well, should we talk about some news?
Yeah, let's get to it.
News time.
News. All right. Well, so we're going to talk a little bit about the Expungement board, which people have probably heard about before, mostly because if you're a listener to the show, we've talked about it on here before. We're also a little bit later going to dig deep into a couple different bills that were introduced to the legislature since we last spoke, looking at the medical side, looking at the native side, looking a little bit more at cannabis in Minnesota. And then at the way end of our episode today, after that interview with Dr. Dabs, you'll be hearing a deep dive on one of those measures specifically. So stick around. We got a whole legislative slew for this one. But should we talk about the Expungement board?
Yes, sir.
All right. So expungement was a huge part of House File 100. That's not something new to anyone that's listening to our podcast, but we know that an expungement is a really long process. How do we go about taking some of the people that have these criminal convictions and still allowing them to be part of the industry? Or alternatively, not part of the industry, but just removing these criminal penalties that they have against them, having these marks on their record removed because, hey, it's legal now and we probably shouldn't punish people for something that they did so long ago that now today would be entirely legal.
Yeah, and I think it came up a bunch last year during the bill process. Is like, we don't want to be like, oh, you got harmed because of weed, so you have to go into weed. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, you got harmed because of weed. We're going to undo that harm.
Absolutely.
Just let you be a person now. Just let you be a normal citizen.
Make it easier to get jobs, to get housing, for whatever be it. So let's talk through what that expungement board is starting to look like. So when it first passed in House File 100, we had a rough idea of who would be on it, or at least whose appointees would be on it. Now the board is starting to come together a little more. We not only know who some of the appointed members are, but we also now know who that chair of the board is going to be. So Governor Walz just this past week announced that James Rauder is going to be the chair of that expungement board.
He should really come on and tell us how to say it.
Yeah, we would love that. Come on our podcast and tell us that, along with so many other things. But he's someone that really has a lot of background on that criminal justice and reparative harm side. He's someone who used to work for the city of Minneapolis. He's someone who has worked as the director of people and culture for the Minnesota ACLU. He's really focused on how can we take some of the harms of criminal justice and help to repair them. Someone that I think is a pretty good person to be running this board.
Yeah, I think on paper that's a great choice. I'm excited to see how he gets going on.
Yeah, I think the on paper comment is really good. It's sort of like looking at someone's resume and maybe they're great for the job, but sometimes they get in and wow, that was a lot of talk. And we don't mean to be harsh while someone gets appointed, but definitely we are hoping that we see that effort coming through some of the work of the board.
We're only even mentioning this because like not all of the governor's appointees have been the right person so far. So it's like, let's let him get in there, let him do his work, and then we can judge for real.
Wait, I'm confused. Is there an appointee that didn't work out, or no? We'll move on. So let's talk about who.
Observing Rupri.
Yeah. So let's talk about who James is going to be serving alongside. We've got Chief Judge Susan Siegel, who is the Chief Justice of who is the Chief Judge of the Minnesota Court of Appeals. Mm-hmm. So the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is able to make that appointment. They chose the Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals, which is like that one level down, but still a really important role. Someone who has had a lot of role in looking at overturning some of these convictions will now be doing similar work for the expungement board.
I think that'll be a good choice. It's nice having a high-level judge on there. The public defender, Amanda Broadhag, she was appointed by the governor, right?
Yeah, so she was appointed by the governor. She is that assistant public defender in Hennepin County.
Okay,
but yeah, another governor picked.
That's, it's interesting who picks these people as well as who these people are, because that's...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they gave a seat to the attorney general or a designee. They haven't yet chosen who that person is. They gave that seat to the Supreme Court, as we previously talked about. They gave a seat to the governor through that public defender lens. They gave another seat, technically, to the governor through the commissioner of corrections, which is the person that the governor picks them. I get they're technically choosing who's on the board, but it's technically the governor picking them as well. And then we also have one public member who also was appointed by the governor, and that's Rebecca St. George. She has previous experience working for the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe, and so someone who I think provides a unique perspective as they move forward with expungement.
And she's also another city attorney.
Yeah.
So
a lot of municipal employees that are going into this board.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what the work of this board looks like. I think there's a lot of, as you mentioned, potential that could be filled. I'm hesitantly optimistic.
Yeah, I think we have to be optimistic about it, though, because it's like you said earlier, the expungements were such a big part of the bill. It's like after we had all the automatic stuff, this is when the real work begins, and I'd love to see their pace and what because most of everything they have to do is just set in statute. So it's like you guys don't have to go looking for what you have to do. You just have to set up the processes.
And there are thousands of individuals that are eligible for expungement under this. So definitely some important work for them to be doing. All right, let's touch a little bit on the legislature because we've got a couple bills that were recently introduced. So we want to start off this conversation with a fun caveat that we used to add in past legislative sessions, which is there's a lot of bills that have been introduced. The number of bills that have had a hearing in both the House and the Senate are added up to the amount of coffee that is inside of this cup, which is none. We've had no hearings yet here in Minnesota, which is, I'm sure people know the legislative process by now. We've been doing this for a while, but it needs to go through that before it can ever go to the House, before it can ever fully pass, before it can ever go to the Senate or the governor. It needs to go to committee.
Yep.
And as of right now,
usually multiple committees.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's, I think you said as of now, 0 so far. We're week 3 this week.
Yep. Yeah. So hopefully we see the legislature continue to advance forward, but more to come. But that being said, we still wanted to talk about some of the bills that were introduced because as we saw last session, there can be a lot of waiting, and then very quick movement. And so we could see some of these be given hearings and moving through the process relatively quickly. But as of right now, nothing. But let's talk about the bills. So the first one that we want to talk about is one that has definitely gotten a lot of coverage over the last couple of days. It's a bill that looks at how cannabis is acquired by some of the native nations here in Minnesota and tries to provide them an additional path to get that cannabis, at least to legally get that cannabis, which would be buying it through the medical companies here in Minnesota. Yeah. So in essence, if a tribal nation wanted to start up a licensed dispensary, they wanted to do, whatever kind of sales, they could buy cannabis directly from the medical manufacturers.
And I'll say this is like I personally am into this. It's one of the things that I think can more efficiently help solve some of our issues, especially around supply. It's like these medical companies are sitting on all this stuff. We have tribal groups that are able to sell this stuff. Yeah. The connection seems easy enough, but like you said, it hasn't even been heard yet. I don't even think it's fully fleshed out.
No, it's a pretty short text as of right now.
What this pilot will look like.
Yeah.
So watch on the buildup of that, but we do need to get dispensaries before 2025. Any way, anyhow, that is the goal. So, I think this will be good. So until March 2025, that's when they have to either have their own supply or start going to.
Correct.
So that's like an interesting caveat, because if I had to look at a crystal ball, I would say that the medical companies are going to fight like hell to take out that March 2025 part.
Bingo. Or I think what we could see is it pass now as a pilot program.
Yep.
They do it for a year and say, this went really well, or it didn't. But imagine it went really well and say, we need to continue this even past 2025.
Yeah. And even if it expires that March, they'll have the bill ready.
Yeah.
Bang, to continue it.
I will say, when I first heard about this bill, I think my initial thought was like, well, I'm not the hugest fan of the medical companies, but I think sort of looking at how we want to actually allow Native nations to become part of our cannabis industry, providing them a route using the people that currently exist in Minnesota, I think is a good way to do it. Now, the one thing I will throw in there is I've heard people say there's only 2 companies that are legally growing cannabis in Minnesota today. I would push back and say we have a whole hemp industry here in Minnesota that probably could also help supply if given the permission to grow. But that's whole thing aside,
whole deal.
Yeah, right? That whole thing aside, we at least have medical companies that are growing today. We have Native nations that are looking to expand access to cannabis. No. This seems like one of those things that,
and
I get it.
Like, depending on how this pilot program ends up, this is our fastest way to dispensaries up and down the state. Yeah. Like, if we want that now, like, this is the fastest way. So it's like, yes, a duopoly gets their hands in it again, as massive corporations do, but the tribes can get paid and can keep that advantage we gave them. So
I think I've heard it described as like, there's the reality that we wish that we lived in, which is that medical companies weren't the only supply of legal high THC cannabis in Minnesota. And then there's the reality that we live in, which is that they legally are. Yeah. So how do we continue to expand access? This seems like one of those things that it just means more access to cannabis, even though it's not the people necessarily that I want selling it. It's still more access to cannabis for more people, which is ultimately a good thing.
That is the point in the end. Yeah.
So moving on a little bit, because we could talk about that one, I think, for a long time. Let's talk a little bit about taxes, everyone's favorite topic. Ooh. So here in Minnesota, we probably know by now, we've got that 10% sales tax on cannabis. Low potency, adult use, it's all the same. There's a bill that was introduced that would look to lower that tax by 2%, so down from 10 to 8%, and instead would allow local municipalities to impose a 2% local tax on cannabis sales to help pay for the cost of regulation. So still, the total tax is never exceeding 10%, which is what it is today. It just sort of shifts 2% of that from going directly to the state to 2% of that being used by municipalities to help in the regulation of cannabis. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that initial measure?
Like, for people who aren't following, it's like you're allowed 8% by the state. That's hard. And then the cities can choose. So it's like, I like it. It's like, I don't know, some cities are going to let it go to create more competition in their areas. Some cities are going to use that 2%. And the thing I'm most curious about, if a city does the 2%, they amass this big amounts, they only need a fraction of it to regulate cannabis, what happens to the rest? Does the state just say, thank you very much and take it? Or do they let the city find, like, it seems like it's a good change, but I think it also opens up more of like the city litigation bullshit. Mind my language.
No, but totally agree, where it's sort of we got to pay for the program. It's like, how much does it cost? And it's like, well, we don't know yet. So I guess we pay for it this way. And it's like, well, that could be, I mean, think about, like, you're the city of Minneapolis, you charge 2% sales tax. Like, how much is that pot going to be at the end of a sales year? Like, that's a decent amount of chunk.
And it's like, they have to, because they can get a report requested from the commissioner at any time. So you have to show how you're using the money, how you're keeping it separate. I just it just doesn't seem realistic for it to be like cannabis regulated. Like, even though it's like, and I think I was reading it wrong, whereas I thought they couldn't reimburse another city. That's how I thought I read it. Whereas, like, you cannot use this money for increased enforcement from other cities' law enforcement.
No, so I think it's more of like, let's say you're a city and you need county support with like helping to regulate. This would allow you to take some of that city coffer, transfer it to the county to pay for like that stuff. And I don't think it's allowing like Minneapolis to pay Bloomington for regulatory services.
Yeah. where it's like, well, we need all these Bloomington. Yeah.
Yeah.
apps to help us.
Or I also don't think that it can be used as, hey, we've got a lot of cannabis sales, and that means more people are smoking cannabis, which means we need more police generally.
Yes.
My understanding is that this will be
I
used
think that's
just
what
for
it
the
was saying, where it's like,
yeah.
you can't say because of how much cannabis we're bringing in, we need to increase enforcement. And use that.
It's just the enforcement and like that business side. We're not going to be, hopefully at least, as the bill's written now, see a ton of extra enforcement.
I mean, the bill's one page. So when that one page stretches out a little bit.
Oh, yeah. It'll stretch out a lot. All right, let's talk about two other bills. Another one that's really important, introduced by our friend Jess Hansen, House File 3760. It provides additional protections for medical cannabis patients. There's a lot that is already in our program that doesn't really have a ton of enforcement behind it. You know, the idea is you're not allowed to discriminate against medical patients, but what happens when people do?
Yes,
this
especially
sort of
when it's a
that.
licensed medical patients.
Absolutely.
Like when they're licensed professionals. I know a lot of this one came from the nurses just being like, we want to get on the medical program, but we're scared. So it's not changing anything. It's just strengthening protections we already had. We're a healthcare state, medical state. So as we bring in these new cannabis laws, we have to make sure we protect the people that keep us a great healthcare state.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last bill that we're going to touch on, and we're just going to briefly touch on it because we're actually, as we mentioned at the beginning, going to come back to it at the way end. House File 3766. It would expand our caregiver program in Minnesota to allow caregivers to not just pick up cannabis from a licensed dispensary, but to also be able to grow cannabis for a medical patient. There are limits on how many caregivers, or excuse me, how many patients a caregiver can have, how many plants they would be allowed to grow because of that. But it would allow medical patients to have an additional source of their cannabis outside of just the two medical distributors that we have in the state.
Yeah, which I would say, like, we know most people do not use the medical program here. Like, most people who should be on the program aren't using it. So I love this bill a lot as like a real effort to get what is going on, the grassroots exchanging of cannabis and growing. Just like legalize it and legalize everything that's fucking going on, because like if it's happening, it's happening among consenting adults. And I love that. I love that it's like you can have your 6 patients, and I don't know, I think you don't need more than that, and it's all going to be cleared through the Office of Medical Cannabis. This one would be, I'd love to see this go through.
Yeah, I really encourage people to listen through all the way to the end. I think it's a really great conversation with Kayla and Adam. They talk about this bill, some of the reasons behind it. But I think what most connected with me is that this is already happening. We already have people that are growing at home, trying to supply people with cannabis they can use medicinally. And this would just formalize that process, allow them to have expanded access to it, and really take what's been going on and make it above board, which is sort of what the whole mission of the office
I think this is one of the things that you can ask those medical companies. They know they don't reach everybody.
Yeah.
This is a way to reach patients where they're at with people they trust. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we jump to our interview in just a couple of minutes, I did want to plug that we got one more event upcoming. It's been so fun being able to connect with people on that growing side. Really, I mean, that's sort of where my passions lie, is being able to talk to people about growing the plant. But one thing that I'm really excited to be able to announce is that we're bringing back another one of our business classes. It's really been able to be cool to be able to talk to people about, this is a business that I want to start. But this one is also focused on, hey, I'm operating a business today. I've been in the hemp industry. I've been confused or disappointed or whatever feeling you're feeling about the inspection process. And I have questions and I want to know more. This class is for you.
Yeah, I love the name of it. What to expect when you're expecting an inspection.
Oh, yeah. It's such a good one. And what I love is that this is another one of those events that we're putting on with a lot of our partners. So we've got North Star Law Group that's going to be coming out. They're going to be providing that vantage point of, hey, we're providing legal guidance for businesses. What do you need to know on that side? We've also got the the OMC coming out, the Office of Medical Cannabis, coming out to talk a little bit more about what those inspections actually look like. And what I'm excited about, to be able to answer people's questions. I know there's a ton of questions in the industry right now. It's not like you can exactly just like show up at their office and start asking people. This is one of those community events they're going to be out, being able to help answer some of those questions. Really excited to be able to provide that space.
Yeah, this one I think is one of them. It needs to be like 2 hours longer, to be honest. People
it's a big one.
have so many questions, and I'll say it, Department of Health, your inspectors are giving them different answers. So I feel like having a public event where they need to have their consistency on point will be helpful for everybody.
Yeah.
And I believe we're offering a live stream for that event as well.
Absolutely. So if people aren't able to make it to the wilderness, you can totally go ahead and live stream it as well. I really encourage people to come in person. I remember, the last event that we had at Minneapolis Cider Co., such great conversations happened afterwards, even after the live stream was turned off. So really encourage people to come on out. They can go to mncannabiscollege.org/inspection, get some more information on that. And I should throw in House of Oil Works, another friend of ours. They helped us put together our training program, providing an awesome retail space to do some filming, to do some sharing. Really excited to be able to partner with some people to bring them in and provide that perspective as a business owner.
We're going to try to put together a compliant speakeasy.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
This is all that would be fun. Yeah, and then you have to play guest the inspector.
Oh, there we go.
Maybe we give Chris Alverum a guest list. And
and this one is 3 days after the other event. So sign up for both, show up to both.
It's going to be one of those weeks where we're probably recording a podcast, doing an event, and then hosting another Thursday professional event. And then maybe we'll be back here on Friday.
Oh, yeah. It's what we do. Yeah. It's what we do. All right. Well, guys, it's been a busy week. How about we try some cannabis products?
Let's go.
All right. We're going to take a short break. When we get back, I'm excited to mellow and to try some products. So we'll be right back. All right. And we're back. So, John, I stepped into the coffee shop to try to get a product that we could sample on the show, and I was like looking at the shelves, and I was like, "Hey, there's some guys that are doing a pop-up of sampling their products."
With a whole guy.
Yeah, so we're gonna sample this product today. So, I mean, tell us a little bit about who I found in the coffee shop, and a little bit more about your brand.
Yeah, thanks for having me. My name's Adam Klosterman. I'm in charge of branding and marketing for a brand new company here local to Minnesota called Melo.
Awesome.
Man, life is chaos. Life is hectic. We all go in so many different directions, and I think there is this massive group of, everyday people who haven't yet turned to cannabis to, kind of break through the chaos and the hecticness. And we wanted to create a brand that was, sort of a great entry level, a great point for people of all backgrounds, whether you've done cannabis before, or you never have, or, no matter how old you are, how young. We really wanted to create a lifestyle forward brand, but
I love
that was backed with like really high quality and flavorful products that people could actually enjoy. Sometimes I think you go to a cannabis product and you sort of take it for the after effects, and sometimes you sort of forget about that the actual enjoyment of the consumption
experience.
Yeah. So we just launched about a month ago. We have a lineup of seltzers or sparkling beverages, hard candies, gummies, chocolates is kind of where we're at for now. And then we maintain a static dosage across the board of 3.2 milligrams per dose.
Love that.
Which I know is a little bit different.
We're 3-2 state.
Yeah, it's so true to who we are as Minnesotans. It's the cannabis. I love it.
Definitely caught some attention and some familiarity from people who live here of kind of knowing that, so this is a lower dose version of cannabis, but really, we know that it is a low dose, and this is kind of our entry level. We're not. We plan to expand that. This is what we launched with, but we really feel like as THC, a new THC brand, we really feel the responsibility to usher in this new wave of THC that's hitting Minnesota and provide a great entry level product for all types, all backgrounds. And I think what's nice is if you're new to cannabis, I think this is the perfect dose to sort of dabble, get your toe in there. But if you're an avid cannabis user, I don't know if I'm even supposed to be saying this publicly, but we actually support the idea of, how about we keep that socialization aspect going? How about we keep that energy high? Everyone has that favorite activity, that favorite thing, that hobby, that profession, that career, whatever they do. And like I said, life is hectic, life is chaos. We wanted to provide a product that allowed people to find your mellow.
I love
that. Love that.
Yeah, the 3.2. I mean, I think that's so great. Not only because, like you said, we're the 3.2 state in alcohol, the cannabis, but what I love is that that's really a dose that I think people find is not something that's super like a stoned feeling. It's not something that's really preventative to you continuing to do whatever it is you want to do, but be it, hey, I really want to sit down and read a book that I enjoy, or be it, hey, I want to go out and socialize with my friends, or be it whatever. 3.2, I think, is really a cool dose for people to sort of start in on. That's awesome.
Especially, I think, for people who either don't smoke regularly or just like, I didn't smoke today. Like, that is like, okay, a little something. Yeah. You don't have to be like super stoned. You can just, and I'll say it. I tasted one earlier, Tanner. I beat you to the punch.
What?
So we gotta taste them now.
So John, we sort of cheated on each other a little bit, because when I went over there, I didn't try any of the beverages. I'm staying true. I haven't tried any of those, but man, I did try some of their chocolate.
Oh my God.
The cookies and cream chocolate. I think I've told like 6 people about it since I've walked over here. It's so good.
We are so proud of our beverages and the flavors, and I'm excited to kind of get your guys' authentic opinion. But, we kind of envisioned this as we were building a brand like this, obviously being our flagship product, but we quickly realized that maybe we had another little dark horse in the race with those chocolates.
Those chocolates, yeah.
People, once we've gotten them out into the market the last month or so, it's like, man, people are blown away by the uniqueness, and I think just the quality. You can taste the richness. They're handmade, hand poured, artisanal product that is really, really tastes really good.
Yeah.
You can't fake that. That's the thing.
Yeah, the key lime pie. Oh, that's a good one. All right,
How
but
do we do this? You want me to pick, or you guys pick?
So let's see. I guess maybe we'll have you sort of choose the order. We'll give them a sample. You can tell us about it as we're trying it, and then
let's start with lime, because for me, lime is like a throwaway flavor most of the time.
Okay.
It's in every pack, and that's the sound of a Friday night right there.
I love
it. It's kind of that flavor that's just sort of in every single pack. Of seltzer, whatever it is, and you just drink it because you want to drink it. But man, if you like that, that sour citrus, flavor forward, if you're a big citrus fan, this actually hits.
It tastes like truly lime. Like, that is a lime flavor. I love that.
That's a real lime juice.
It's like when you make like fresh limeade.
Yeah.
That's nice.
It does totally taste like a fresh beverage that you just sort of made up.
And really fresh.
Wow.
I guess I sort of miss an important key. So as we approach the beverage, right, and I've sampled every single, we all did as a team collectively sampled like everything that was out there, and we felt like some leaned more towards that like heavier cola, almost like Olipop, like healthy soda, or pop as you guys call it here in Minnesota, or like sparkling water. And we were like, man, we really want something that's like right in the middle of that, like not too heavy, not too light, has enough flavor and enough sweetness, but we still somehow managed the visionary and the flavor developers managed to keep it under 30 or 25 calories.
It's like that lick of sweetness where it's like, ooh, very nice.
Yeah. Well, for a throwaway flavor, like knockout, I like that. Yeah.
I didn't mean our lime was throwaway.
No. Just kidding.
Someone's going to grab the one and, I had the lime.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, I got the lime.
Yeah, but that's really good.
Let's stay with the citrus maybe and go with the tangerine. Again, tangerine for me isn't typically a go-to flavor, and we've had a lot of people who will say that they're not big tangerine fans, but that this has ended up being their favorite flavor. So.
Oh. Wow. So when we first started this podcast, now like almost a year, I mean, we're coming up to almost a year of, I used to say like, I don't like citrus. I just don't like tangerines. I don't like oranges. I don't like, it's just not for me. And cannabis beverages has changed my mindset on that. And this is another one of those that like, I think if you had told me a year ago, like, oh, it's a tangerine beverage, I'd be like, well, is that the last one? Like, it's not for me. But wow, that's really, really good. Yeah, it's same with the lime, where you get really that authentic fruit flavor to it.
Yeah. Our visionary founder, he has a culinary background, and so when he decided that he wanted to make a brand that flavor forward, and creating a lineup of product that didn't have a throwaway flavor was super important, and I think that's really hard to do with citrus flavors. But I feel like we've achieved that a little bit.
Yeah,
That's
wow,
really good.
Yeah, another. All right, what do we got next time? I'm really looking forward to this
All
one
right,
now.
we're gonna end with black cherry because that's my personal favorite.
Okay.
So third here we have peach mango. Just if you're a fan of those super kind of peachy, kind of tropical-ish flavors, this one's super good. We kind of did some research. We found, at least in the alcohol space, that peach was like one of the most flavorful or a
This is the one
popular.
I tried earlier. It's so good.
Wow. You like just hit that point of like it's really sweet, but not too sweet. Like it's really flavorful, but not too much. It's like
a lot of flavor,
just in that great
and
spot.
the sweetness is at that perfect ratio where it's not overwhelming. It's just following the flavors so well.
We felt like, again, to keep your calories down, right? You have to explore some of the natural sweeteners or other things like that. We landed on allulose, which is just naturally derived from figs, because we just felt like some of the other ones left like sort of a little bit of bitterness or that on the tongue.
A little aftertaste,
Yeah.
Wow. All right, that's a really
This
good
is
one. I like that
so-
one. Yeah.
Guys, we haven't even gotten to the black cherry yet. And the black cherry, this is I don't want to hype it up too much because it's like, okay, really, how good are the rest? But this is just my personal.
All right.
I feel like I have to.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, there we go.
gotta
Join us in
dabble
this one.
There
with
we
you
go.
guys.
Dabble in the dabbler.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
It's sort of like we get to have our own edition of the Beer Dabbler like every week here. We're just going to try samples. This is a
It's
fun
the
one.
number one benefit to Friday night recording.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah, like,
Ooh.
can I come back next week and just hang out in the back?
Wow. Oh, absolutely.
We'll have to talk
Anytime.
to Will.
Yeah, this one has the
Wow.
consumption experience where it's like as you're drinking it, you're like, oh, hell yeah.
It's like, wow, I'm already
they're
sad
all
it's going to be
delicious,
over.
Right? Yeah, it's exactly. It's like you're
Yeah.
thinking about like, shit, this is good.
When I think that's so spot on what you said at the beginning, where there's so many people that look effect first and then like flavor is second.
figure it out
And this so feels like it's a beverage that was created really in sync. Like not only is it a serving size that was thoughtfully created, but man, those flavors are awesome.
Money, yeah.
This like I can see why this is your favorite. I mean, I think they're all super good, but I gotta agree with you. I think this one is my favorite too. This is
And by no means am I bashing anything because we are so fortunate in this state to have so many like amazing makers and manufacturers that that pushed us or in the beginning to really rise to the level immediately. But I also feel like there's a little bit of let's get this out to the market, and
fast
make
as
some
possible.
money
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. And if I could say anything about our team and about this brand, like there was so much intention behind every little level, every bit of detail, every bit of what we wanted to create to really. We know that this is a competitive space, and if you're gonna do it and you're gonna be long lasting in this industry, every element has to be buttoned up and with intention and thought out. And
From the jump, yeah.
yes, 100%.
well, from the packaging to the branding to like the thing that's actually in the can itself, you can so see that. Like this really is a product that is really, really good. I'm a big fan of this one.
Yeah, this is really delicious. I think, for the people who don't, like I said, don't really like drinking the THC sodas and seltzers because of like
Stigma.
that's funny.
Yeah.
Stigma and
That word is like pasted all over my
Yeah.
brand book. Like
and just
that's
that taste too, like that experience that while I'm consuming it is majority of the reason people are like, oh, I love to smoke, but like most of these are so nasty. It's like someone has this, they're going to be, I think, a lot more positive of the entire cannabis beverage industry.
Yeah.
Because like this shit's a great intro. Yeah.
Well, and I can totally
you
see.
have no idea how much that means. That's amazing.
Yeah, this is one of those products that like I could see recommending to my coworker who's like maybe new to cannabis, and this is like a
Exactly.
great product.
Yeah.
But also to my friend that just like enjoys high quality cannabis products. This is one of those things that I drink like maybe a couple of because man, this is really good.
Like you were saying, there's so much. People see the margins and they're like, "Oh, got to get to market." It's like tasting the intention is, love it.
And I mean, I can't remember if I mentioned it or not. This is just our entry point. We know and understand that the industry over the course of the next 18 months, man, we are in for a ride.
Oh yeah.
And we're ready and willing to like adapt to that and adapt to market feedback and what we get. And as we looked at, we launched, I think, 13 SKUs.
Okay, totally.
So it's like we had to really make a decision about, let's stick to this stick to this because we believe in it. We're passionate about it, but we plan to create and create more flavors, more dosages. Because at the end of the day, sometimes people find their mellows in different ways through different amounts of THC, and we're willing to ride that train with the industry for the next 2 years while we all sort of figure it out.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for coming back here and talking to us about these products. Thank you so much for letting us sample these. Really, I mean, I can't encourage people enough. If you are coming to the Dabbler Depot, grab one of these, grab a can, grab a chocolate bar, grab some of the hard candies. Really, it's so many endless opportunities to try out.
Thank you for the invitation.
Delicious, man. Delicious.
Shout out to Dabbler Depot.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
So good.
Yeah. Wow, those are really good. Like, you should try.
I know. I kept drinking coffee. I was like, fuck, I want one.
It is.
Hello, hello. Welcome to another amazing episode of Northern Lights Podcast. I'm your host, Shayna, joined by my co-host,
Marcus Harkis.
Yeah, really excited today to have an amazing guest, Dr. Clemon Dabney, also known as Dr. Dabs. So just wanted to, first, since this is your first time on the show, we'd love to know more about you. Tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you to the Minnesota cannabis industry.
Cool, yeah. So, yeah, I'm Clemon, or Doc Dabs. My background is I'm a Minnesotan born and raised. Did my undergrad, master's, and PhD here. My master's was in plant breeding and molecular genetics, and my PhD was in cannabis molecular genetics and genomics. I've been growing cannabis since I was 16 down by the river and other places from there on out. I guess how I got introduced to cannabis was during my master's. I was the vice president of the horticulture club. In that capacity, I invited Dr. George Weidman to come speak and give a seminar about cannabis genetics to the horticulture club. We kind of hit it off after his talk, and he made a comment where he was like, I wouldn't invite anybody to work for me if they wanted to study cannabis, and I snarkily replied, if I ever worked for you, that's all I'd want to do.
That's amazing.
So, shots fired.
Yeah, shots fired, but the shots worked. So I was about to finish my master's up, and then he shot me an email and was like, I got some funding. Do you want to come work on a PhD in cannabis with me? And I wrote a white paper, pitched my proposal to him, and the rest is history.
Nice.
So talking about history, I guess this is very unique in terms of that type of degree. I know that you attended the U of Minnesota and things like that, and you kind of talked about that. So just talk a little bit about that in terms of if people were interested in pursuing that type of degree, what type of background would you suggest for them to pursue in terms of preparing them for that?
So my undergrad was actually in neuroscience. Mm-hmm. So I used to raise rats and then harvest their brains. And harvesting plants for data is a lot easier.
Makes me hungry.
But yeah, so I think all you really need to have to get into plant sciences is a science background. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you necessarily have to have a horticulture degree or a plant science degree in undergrad. You just need to take most of your basic science classes, and at the time they required the GRE. But my department no longer requires that. So I guess, and you kind of also have to create your own field of study. So so I was in the College of Biological Sciences in the Plant and Microbial Biology department. And so it's not like there is a cannabis molecular genetics and genomics track. So in my cohort, there's a woman who studied the maize epigenome and a guy who studied tropical dry forests in Mexico, Costa Rica, I think Colombia, Puerto Rico, and then there was another guy who did genetic transformation of soybean. So it's kind of if you want to get into something like this, I think you just have to know what you want and have to be able to build that program out and make sure to take the right classes and put the right people on your committee. And it was a lot of building it from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're Dr. Dabs. Do you think that your trajectory would have been much different if you hadn't pursued the doctorate, the highest level of education with this?
I think
in terms of cannabis space.
I think definitely. I guess I would always have been interested in the cannabis, but I think that the doctor gave me a lot of cool experiences to work on a wide range of things relating to cannabis. So, like, we did a field variety trial where we studied how well grain hemp yields in 5 different locations around the state: White Earth, Crookston, Morris, St. Paul campus, and Rosemount. I got to work with the drug section of cannabis. So the U of M, Dr. George Weibland has a DEA license, or Memorandum of Understanding with DEA, to study cannabis, and has for about 20 years now. So I got to work on projects relating to drug cannabis and hemp. And I think that all these experiences kind of like geared me to kind of understand the cannabis market holistically. Like, I understand how to grow and process and understand the businesses of hemp businesses, from fiber, grain, and drug cannabis.
I'm just going to say this without naming names, but I remember there was a guy who has a lot of background in cannabis cultivation, and he was kind of expressing jealousy, like, I could do everything he can do. He's just got a degree. I mean,
oh wow, haters.
How do you feel about like people looking at you sideways because you're more academic with it?
I think that in any field you go in, or in any way of life, I think there's always going to be some amount of jealousy.
Facts.
I also think that there's people that can grow better than me. So I don't think that I'm like, I know everything and I'm like the all-knowing, all-seeing eye of cannabis. But I do think that the PhD, I guess a master's and a PhD allows you to at least understand something. You basically have to set up a research plan. You have to be able to, utilize your resources at hand to accomplish a goal. You have to be able to communicate your results to the greater community. So I think that, like, doing a PhD or a master's just allows you to get, we'll call them XP points in whatever you're interested in. So I think that being that I have an educational background, it ensured that I was doing the things I was supposed to do. I've created a research focus. I had to defend it to my committee in an oral and written prelim. So for people who don't know, like, an oral prelim is you create a committee for a PhD, and it's like basically 4 of the smartest people you've ever met, and they have 4 very different backgrounds, and they're the smartest in their field, and you sit there for 4.5 hours and get grilled by them, and you have to be able to answer or explain why you don't know what they're asking you. So I think it's like, I think that the academic side just means I put in the time and it's accredited.
It definitely makes you a more intense learner.
It does.
Well, we wanted to learn about your business, Doc Dabs, Healthy Highs, and then talk about the A&D genetics.
Cool.
Can you tell us about your cannabis businesses?
So I've had I operate Dr. Dabs. So Dr. Dabs Healthy Highs, we make maple candies, maple sugar, various different seasonings, THC seasonings, salve. We had a maple soda for a second that we hope to bring back. But yeah, we've won the 2022 Legacy Cup THC's Most Innovative Product and the 2023
that's
CBD's
amazing.
Most Innovative Product. Thank you for our nighttime tea and the maple candies for the THC award. So we just kind of like try to make innovative edibles that people aren't really making. And a lot of the maple stuff kind of like falls back on, I've owned and operated, and it still's out there. So if you're ever at the Birchfield Farmers Market or Nokomis, or we do a couple other places that are escaping my mind right now, but look out for a company called Minnesota Food Forest. That's kind of where I got my start with small business. I remember that, I've known Marcus for like a decade now. And, remember when we were at it was at the time, it was my grandmother's house inoculating mushroom logs.
Yeah, shiitakes.
Yeah. So it's like the small business entrepreneurship kind of starts from there. It's like I wanted to grow mushrooms on logs, and I found a property, bought it, then realized the property had a bunch of maple trees, and I'm like, man, I got to figure out how to collect maple syrup. So then I made this tube system. I watched every YouTube video on like making maple tube systems, which at the time there weren't that many. So it was a lot of trial and error, and I probably put down like 8 miles of tubing. And yeah, so like, so kind of like the love for maple and love for cannabis kind of intertwined in a lot of my Doc Dabs products. So we do like little packets of maple syrup, the maple sugar, the maple candies. If I ever figure out how to do it or they change the laws a little bit, there'll be some maple cream. But yeah, so I guess that's a little bit about the Dr. Dabs. Let's talk about, I guess, Alt Dabs or Alt Dabney or A&D Genetics. So that's kind of the brainchild of me and Mason Alt. So he's the CEO over at Retro Bakery Uniflora Holistics. So Uniflora Holistics is like a company that owns Retro Bakery and Love is an Ingredient. So Retro Bakery is like a manufacturing and wholesaling cannabis edibles company, and Love is an Ingredient is a chain of retail and brick and mortar stores. So kind of Mason and me both have, I guess we'll call it, extensive backgrounds cultivating cannabis. Mason's ideas are very largely rooted in cultivation, and my ideas are largely rooted in genetics. So I think it was like it's a great partnership, kind of the brainchild of both of our strengths. So like we're thinking about, what traits are best for home growers and producers, and then my background is, how do we scientifically prove that these traits are in our cultivars? So I guess one of the benefits of if you want to buy some seed and grow it outside or indoors of choosing A&D Genetics is that not only do we use traditional breeding methods, but we also use a lot of conventional breeding methods such as marker-assisted selection. So we use markers to ensure that we are producing high-quality cultivars for sale on the Minnesota marketplace. So like if you want to think of like what is marker-assisted selection, so like Honeycrisp and a lot of the modern apple cultivars are bred this way. So it's often done in tree breeding because it takes so long to figure out if you did something right or not. But so you're making sure that both parents have the traits of interest. So you want crunchiness, you want sweetness, you want disease resistance, and you're making sure both parents have them so the offspring have the traits of interest.
So talking about genetic lines, and we know that you're here in amazing Dabbler Depot, and we know right now that there are limits in Minnesota in terms of what you can grow at home. Why would someone choose your seeds over anyone else's?
I think they choose our seeds because we are actually thinking about it in a breeding fashion. So we're using markers, which I think is probably makes us one of very few companies in the United States that does this. And we're definitely the only company in Minnesota that's doing this. So you would choose our seeds because you know that they're going to be good. You know that they have, large gland size. You know that they have high percent THC. You know that they have the bag appeal trait. You know that they're going to be loud.
Yeah.
and we offer a wide range of different cultivars. Some good for hashing, some good for washing, some good for fresh flower. Pretty quick here, we're going to have a line of feminized seeds for those who are going to be growing outdoors. So I think you would choose us because I guess we have a track record of we'll call it excellence.
Yes, I love it. And so switching to that in terms of learning from you and why we should select you, and we always choose you, and coming up in March, you'll be teaching our class. So without spilling all of the beans, tell us a little bit more about why they should come on out and take the class with us.
So I think you guys should come out and check out this class. I think it's called Growing Big Plants.
Big plants, not the little ones.
Not the little ones. But here's a little secret. If you come out to our class and you follow what you're going to learn there, you're gonna quickly run into your possession limits at home or exceed those, which I think that allows you to gift more cannabis to your friends and family. But basically, we're going to talk about, different training methods. We're going to give you guys a schedule on when to prune and defoliate. What is pruning? What is defoliating?
Right.
When should you do it? Different methods, different media methods you could use, living soils versus coco coir, different fertilizer, kind of just the background on how to increase your yield as a home grower and producer.
Do you enjoy teaching?
I actually do. I do in cannabis. I guess and some other things. I had to teach Minnesota flora at the University of Minnesota, and that was a cool class. I think at the beginning of my PhD career, let's just say I wasn't super amped to teach or had much interest in it or passion for it. Like teaching a intro level bio class to a bunch of kids that want to be pre-med. Wasn't really my jam. But like teaching like a Minnesota flora class where the people are actually interested in the topic and they're not just trying to argue over grades. And I think I like teaching things I'm passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely.
To students who are passionate about learning. Huh?
Exactly, yeah. And people who are open-minded. And I think that's the one nice thing about the cannabis space is I think this space tends to have a little less ego. There's definitely some egos out there. But there tends to be people who are open-minded and people who are go-getters, because I think this industry, since it's from the black market, is just filled with people who are go-getters and who are open to learning new things and who are seekers of knowledge. So I think I like teaching to the people interested in cannabis because they're interested in it. They want to be there. And in this case, they're paying to be there. So
Right.
I mean, we're at this point before dispensaries are, licensed and open for business, like, adult use cannabis market. And the OCM recently said like 25% of cannabis consumers in Minnesota are doing home growing right now.
That's a nice number.
I mean, that's a good market for
Yeah.
A&D genetics,
Right.
But like, how do you think the Minnesota market will differ from the states that have gone before us in terms of full legalization?
I guess that home grower, I'm just curious. It's hard to say because the landscape I don't think is yet solidified.
Right.
Because I think if this caregiver thing, I think the caregiver bill could kind of upend a lot of different things and change the marketplace as we see it. Because I think that the power of this caregiver bill is that it would empower those folks. Because right now, without any changes to the bill, you have to have a space rented out, right?
Right.
So it's like a TTB license. It's like a liquor license. Like if you wanted to open a brewery today as like a small business person, you have to rent out that space until the federal government gives you your license. It's like, what average person is sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars of capital that they can just hemorrhage? So I think the power in this caregiver bill is going to empower, if it does pass, it empowers like people from the black market, empowers small business people to be able to create businesses from their own homes.
Right.
And 96 plants, if you're doing it right, you can yield a lot. 96 plants. So you could have yourself as a large sustainable business from home. And in today's day and age, with people with kids, childcare is super expensive. I think that more and more people being able to have home businesses is incredibly beautiful and powerful. So I think that the landscape isn't completely proven and solidified yet. So if the caregiver bill passes, I think we'll have an incredibly vibrant craft cannabis market space. But if it doesn't, you're going to have a lot of businesses that can prove proof of funds, that have a space that they can just sit on until they get a license, and likely will lack in diversity because in Minnesota we're like the nation's capital of gaps, wealth gap,
absolutely.
education gap. So it's like how many people of color are going to be able to show that they got $1 million in the bank and have this beautiful space rented out? That's probably a small number.
And that's I guess a great segue. Let's kind of talk about in terms of the disparities. What piece of advice, maybe top 3 things that you would give to people of color who are interested in pursuing a business or wanting to like launch their own products or any type of alternatives in the cannabis industry?
I guess my greatest piece of advice is just do it. I think that's what sets a lot of these companies apart. Is just like people who are just going to get it. I think that if you put the time in, you put the effort in, you put your passion in, people see that. And that's something that they can connect with. And
Right.
you know, there's lots of cool people of color own cannabis businesses. You got Angela Dawson's, you got Leckers with the lemonades, and you've got Anthony over at Cultivated, and there's a large number of them I'm missing, and I apologize for all the others that I missed.
Natty
but-
cakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Natty Cake.
Shout
dude,
out to all of them.
Natty
Amazing.
Cake.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that there's a lot out there, and I think that as long as you're passionate about it and you go get it, and just make sure to do everything that is important for a business, is that, you know, marketing your product, networking with everybody in the industry, making sure to check out the various different distributors. I think if you want to scale your product up and you maybe don't have that sales arm, just, you know, check out what your distribution options are. Is it Granite City? Is it, you know, any of the other number of distributors? Just do your research and make a good product and be passionate about it and be able to communicate why your product is different in the market space and why it's important and why people should buy it. I think those are kind of some of the keys to success.
Yeah. Great
Okay, I've
advice.
got a controversial question.
Uh-oh.
So, a lot of people know, and we reported here on the Northern Lights podcast, that you had gone for the director position at the Office of Cannabis Management. Are you willing or able to talk about that experience?
Yeah, sure. What do you want?
I
He's like, where do I start?
I'll talk about it from my.
Yeah.
So I applied. I got the first interview. So the interviews, basically, they did it in a panel style. I went down to the Capitol. I think this would be the DNR building. Oh, no, MDA, Minnesota Department of Ag building. So it was like Charlene Briner organizing the interviews. So the first interview was basically like a panel style. They just kind of went clockwise, asking, you know, relevant questions to why would you apply and what makes you a strong applicant for the OCM position. I guess I passed the first interview, got the second interview, very same format. Passed that one, got the third and final interview with the governor and his team. So I heard I was runner-up for it to a candidate that had to resign within 24 hours.
Ooh, drama.
Shots fired.
Ooh, getting a little spicy.
So yeah, and I think that, you know, if we want to keep spicing it up, I don't know.
We like spice around here. Spice it up.
I'm
Spilling the beans and spicing the coffee.
I don't exactly understand how they made such a mistake. So
Do you think there was some nepotism in there?
I'm not gonna point fingers or whatever, but I think something was going on because like you have here I'll give us more background. So the background check was probably over 100 pages and 4 to 6 different packets.
Wow.
So I had to research myself.
Googling yourself?
I had to Google Maps.
Who am I?
So I had to come up with every place I'd ever lived since 18.
Wow.
So like, you know, since I was 18. I'm 36 now. And in my college years, I just kept moving around. I'd do a lease for a year, and then I'd get a new spot, and I'd like check out different neighborhoods in the Twin Cities. And it's like I had to Google Maps Street View. I was like, oh, I know I live by Sporty's, but Sporty's doesn't exist anymore. It's like the Como Tap House or whatever. So I'm like going down Google Maps Street View, like which house was I living in at this point in time, and then I had to like figure out when in time. Like there was just so much. They knew anything I had debts, any assets I owned. It was incredible. They know everything about my life. They know that, you know, how many 4-wheelers I have, how many vehicles I have, where all my properties are. Then not only that, they had a guy come interview me, open carry special. He was a Bureau of Criminal Apprehension special agent.
Right,
so like
BCA.
basically our like FBI CIA dude in my house, grilling me about these packets, going through my business websites, my social media, asking me about. So we were under the student loan pause or whatever. And Navient had taken one of my loans to collections, and they were sending me mail, and I was like, this is on pause. So I thought it was like junk garbage or whatever.
Right.
I was like, they're trying to
Like in
scam. They're trying to
forbearance.
scam me or whatever. But they weren't, because all my other loans are under Advantage, so I was just confused. But they knew about that for me that like I owed Navient some money. There's just like so many questions on. Yeah, and this guy went and interviewed all my neighbors. He was just gun on his hip interviewing my neighbors about me. Called up all my former employers, my girlfriend, my friends, the mother of my child. Like this background check was incredibly thorough.
And with that level of thoroughness, it makes you wonder, how did they miss some of the things that just the general public discovered about this person?
It's wild, because we went through my Instagram, my Facebook, my Twitter, my business webpage, like looking at my products, watching stuff that I created. So it's like, how did they miss this? And how the public figured it out in just a couple hours was kind of mind blowing.
Hey, Tanner.
So I got my seeds. You ready to grow some big plants?
I am.
Do you have your seeds? Bam! Dude, you don't need seeds that big.
But I thought we were growing really big plants.
Well, yeah, but you can just use regular seeds. I mean, come to our class March 18th. We got it 6:30 to 9. In fact, Dr. Dabs, Radiant Labs will be out there. They're going to teach you how to grow big plants, but just with regular seeds.
Oh.
Yeah, come on down. MNCannabisCollege.org /grow big. Get your tickets today. You can grow some really big plants with really regular seeds.
They don't need to be the size of quail eggs. Okay, so we had this class taught by Stephen Cornell of Cornell's Urban Agriculture.
Yep.
And it was a wonderful class. It was on living soil.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, he made a comment that, his good friend, Clemon Dabney III, uses as a proponent of the cocoa core, soil method. Well, not soil, But he says he thinks that's going in the wrong direction. So how would you respond to that? Like, the living soil class was wonderful and inspiring, and it made me want to grow with living soil. But what's your, why do you think cocoa core is a viable alternative?
I think that the data isn't completely out there yet, but from what data that I've seen is that cocoa core yields more. I think it's easier to manage for the average person. Personally, it's cleaner and less labor intensive. And I think that most large producers are using like a cocoa core based system. I think the living soil is. I think it's whatever you want to grow. I think if you've got your XP points in living soil, because I used to grow with living soil before I switched over to cocoa core. So I've got experience using both, and I just personally like cocoa core better. So yeah, if you look at the research, there's a tendency for, well, it's always the case that you have higher yield. In a living soil, there is a tendency to have a higher amount of terpenes and cannabinoids, but that isn't the case across all cultivars. And even when you start investigating this yield differential, though, if you're looking at it in terms of milligrams per gram of cannabinoids and terpenes, oftentimes the cocoa core becomes higher than. Yes, you may be seeing slightly higher numbers of percentage-wise of cannabinoids and terpenes in a living soil, but since you're yielding so much more, the milligrams per gram of cannabinoids and terpenes are higher in a cocoa core system.
So it's not just yield. You're saying it's potentially
you're getting more bang for your buck cheaper. Like the amount of labor intensiveness of having to make all the soil, on having to maintain it, and your average starting grower, like they don't even know what a soil test is. So it's just like, and in that system, you don't exactly know what how much of what you're adding to your soil, what it's doing, how to, like, if you start seeing nutrient deficiencies or excesses, do they even know what to do in a living soil system to change it and correct it? Whereas if you're in a cocoa core system, you're adding X number of grams of NPK. You know exactly what is in that soil at any given time. I just think that I think that the cocoa core system is just easier. It's easier to understand. Yes, you can do soil and it's just as good. Yes, you can do cocoa core and it's just as good. I personally don't think one is better than the other.
Yeah, many ways to skin a cat.
Yeah, I think there's many ways to skin a cat. It's what you're comfortable with. Do you want the living soil? If you do it right, you can keep reusing it.
That's what I was just thinking.
Like,
he said like you could keep using the same living soil for like a decade.
Yeah. So I mean, there's benefits there, but like my cocoa core, I just go put it in my garden. It's not like I'm just throwing it into a landfill. So I just think that it's just however the system you want to set up and grow in, and what you want to gain experience with. I think that they produce roughly equivalent products. Like if you look at the data, they're not statistic other than yield. The numbers aren't really statistically significantly different.
Is living soil a cleaner product?
I wouldn't necessarily say cleaner, because it's like if you're growing, let's say you're saying we'll call it chemical-free methods. Like so people are worried about this whole salt thing.
Yeah, that's
because like the cocoa core and the salts. What a salt is a pure form of nutrient. It's like how like if you're mixing this like brown goo together and you don't exactly know what's in it, how does that make it better or purer than something that's literally pure nutrient, pure nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus? So I just think that like when the average person thinks about what a nutrient is, they think compost or manure, which I think is more along the lines of like a living soil idea. Like when I grow hemp, I use goat manure. Like it's when I grow at home, I'm using salts. So I just think that like I don't think it makes it any dirtier. I think to add a pure form of nutrients.
Would you be open to a competition?
Oh, I'd love one.
Shots fired. This is a violent episode.
I've seen the final product, and I'm down.
You heard it here first, folks, on the Northern Lights podcast. We're going to try to organize the competition. Living soil.
Yo, clones. Let's do it. Straight up clones. Same clone. Yeah. Let's do 4. Let's do 4 different clones. Yeah. Living soil versus cocoa.
Are there any other? Because I've heard that, somebody said he's the best cultivator in Minnesota. Are there any other cultivators that you think are like going to be some of the best in the state, or who you'd like to invite to this competition?
Ooh, that's a good question. There's one I would name, but I'm not going to.
Oh. It got a little chilly.
Yeah. I'm going to behave myself. Yeah, we'll just call them genetic stealers.
Oh, God.
But yeah. Yeah. I'm just down to do a friendly competition with Steven.
I think that'd be fun.
I think so too.
You heard it here first, folks. Well, yeah, thank you very much for your time. I'm very proud of you.
I've been
seeing you on this grind for the past decade, and I think you're one of the most legendary members of the Minnesota cannabis community.
Thank you.
So thank you for leading the way.
Can I drop in and ask a quick question?
Yeah.
So I'm curious to ask you from like a grower's perspective, if you were growing at home, really not limited by like seed production or whatever, be it, what is it that you look for in a cultivar that you're growing? Is there like a specific terpene profile or a specific growth pattern or something that really it's like that's sort of the creme de la what's the phrase we use? Creme de la creme of growing.
Creme de la creme, hey, another
I guess shirt. So for me, you're talking about like in a breeding context.
Just like for growing at home. Like if you were going to be growing at home for something that you plan to personally enjoy, what is it that you're looking for?
I guess for the plant, I personally like orange terps. I'm a sucker for the mimosas, the tangies, the orange cookies max.
I had some orange cookies one time. It made me cry.
So yeah, I guess one of the plants has to be an orange strain. Another one is like you got to show off to your friends. So you got to have like your bag appeal one. So we're talking like something crossed with Mac usually. Like a Mac Stomp or even Mac V2, a Big Miracle, a Columbia Miracle, a Fanta Black. Something where you take it somewhere, and there's no competition. The people have that's what in Puerto Rico they call it creepy. It's like the good weed, like it's hard to find better weed than that, even at a dispensary. So you have to have your bag of Beal cultivar. This is hard to think about because I usually am thinking about making crosses, but yeah. So I definitely would have an orange strain. I'd have a bag of Peel strain, and I'd probably round it out with like 2 yielder strains. So that I could gift them to my friends.
Sharing is caring.
So yeah, I guess in those, yeah. So I guess finding your yielders. I guess if I was an at-home grower, I'd find the one with the bag of Peel so you can show it off to your friends. I'd find the one with the terpene profile that you like, and then I'd work on finding your yielders, because oftentimes your yielder may not have that terpene profile you like. It may not have all the perfect bag of Peel traits, but it could out yield 2.5 times your favorite stuff. And that just makes sure that, you have enough flower to keep smoking until you get your next harvest.
Right.
So yeah, I personally would find like 2 yielders so that I always have some flower, and then the things that I like are my other 2 plants.
Okay, last parting words. So I just started my home grow journey, and Tanner came and helped us erect the tents. Just 2 tents, only 5 plants. But he brought some genetics that Stephen Egan produced. And you also gifted me a few clones. And they're all thriving right now. Like, this shit is beautiful. So, yeah,
Ours got a couple
A&D
markers.
Genetics. Fuck with it.
We got a couple markers. We know our stuff's good.
Yeah.
The data says it's good. It is insured.
Is there anything that you want to address that we didn't talk about?
I guess I wouldn't mind talking. I think we talked about. I guess in my notes we talked about what was it like to study cannabis in a less accepting academic environment. I wouldn't mind touching on that a little bit. So when I started my PhD, hemp wasn't yet legal. So we had this memorandum of understanding with DEA, and what that meant was like, we could only have 40 plants at any one given time. All of our stuff needed to be kept in an old bank vault. Our lab was basically a minimum security prison. So like,
damn,
keys, key codes, cameras. If I didn't punch in my code fast enough, the police show up. So they took it very serious. Yeah, and then like we could only retain so much biomass, seeds, stalks, flower material, leaf material, whatever. So anything extra would have to be sent to a DEA licensed company to get burned and incinerated. They viewed the DNA as a controlled substance, so we couldn't send DNA even to a different lab outside of the University of Minnesota to study. So luckily, the University of Minnesota has the UMGC, like a genomics center. That's one of the better in the country. So we were fortunate that we had those opportunities here at hand. But
so you could do stuff in-house that you wouldn't be allowed to outsource.
Exactly. Yep. And like one of the nice things is when hemp became legal. Oh, I got one more fun story. So before hemp became legal, we changed our memorandum of understanding with DA so we could go collect some feral cannabis in parks, roadsides, and in private properties. And one of the things that the DA wanted in there was that we had to cart around a gun safe. Yeah, so we literally had this big gun safe. There's funny pictures of us loading this huge gun safe into a U of M vehicle, so we had to rent these vans.
Wait, were there guns present?
No guns. But they wanted like a safe, they wanted like a lockbox environment where we would put the cannabis in, just to stop it from escaping back into its natural habitat. Okay. If we were to crash or somebody wanted
Stuff that's non-intoxicating.
Yeah. And that's the hilarious thing is that, most of feral cannabis in Minnesota is well under 0.3. Most of it actually is CBD dominant in chemotype. So it's like, it's just like not oftentimes those ideas from people in power are not based in actual reality or fact.
Not science, but
not
politics.
science. Yeah.
Yeah, but politics.
Politics.
So yeah, we're carting around this gun safe to collect feral cannabis. But then it was wonderful. Once hemp got legalized, we could get a greenhouse We could keep more than 40 plants at a time. We could just throw away our compost and waste at the end of the greenhouse in the compost pile.
That was 2018, right?
Yeah, 2018. Yeah. So like, and even just like working with cannabis under the DEA MOU is like, anytime I touched a plant, I had to write about it in physical writing and digitally. Oh, I started 8 seeds of XYZ to germinate them in a Petri plate in this exact location. So I'd have to write it down, and then I'd have to log it in a computer. So there's just a lot more bookkeeping that I had to do under the DEA. That was non-existent and wonderful in the hemp space.
I mean, can you imagine any other doctoral program that has that level of scrutiny?
I don't think it exists.
Yeah, that sounds
maybe some on the medical side with these people studying like cocaine in rats or something. But
like nuclear power.
Yeah, probably some nuclear fusion and fission. They probably are taken pretty seriously. But yeah, in terms of at the U, is probably one of the most well documented and the level of I guess we could call transparency or documentation was incredible.
Man, we should get Dr. Weibling on here.
Yeah, I think he's got some more stories for you.
Yeah,
we'd love to hear them.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to like talk about before we go?
I think that covers it. I think that like, if you guys are home growers or if you guys are producers, think about A&D genetics. We've got 8 cultivars. By the end of this week, there'll be 8 cultivars out there on the market and on our website. Hopefully by the end of hopefully by springtime, there'll be another about similar amount. Just think about Retro Bakery if you're thinking about getting some quality edibles, and Doc Dabs. We make a lot of different things. So at Retro, we've got CBD muscle creams from the Doja products. We're coming out with a chapstick pretty soon. We've got these shots. Lemonade, different lemonade shots. We do gummies, various different chocolate products. Doc Dabs, we got the maple candies and a lot of cool innovative edible options. So I think think about Doc Dabs, Retro Bakery, and A&D Genetics next time you're at one of these lovely retailers like the Dabbler Depot.
You're just a whole brand in itself. Like you're like the Beyonce of cannabis. Beyonce has like all these lines, everything always coming up with that.
I'm the Beyonce of cannabis.
That's the next shirt for sure.
Big Clem, not the little one. Not to say that you guys look anything like, but you know what I mean, like that. No shade.
I can see Beyonce a little bit. I can see it. Are you hopeful for the future of Minnesota cannabis, though? Do you think that the OCM will make it right with the legal industry?
I think so. I think that you can hear my voice. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm hopeful and optimistic. The audacity of hope.
Yeah, we have to be hopeful.
Yeah, so I think that there's enough smart and talented and motivated people in our industry. I think that are going to keep their heels to the fire, that are going to educate them and lobby for the interests of Minnesotans, creating a vibrant and beneficial to all cannabis industry. So I'm hopeful in that regard that we have some of the best people. I think I'm not to be nationalistic statewide, but I think we have some of the best people, some of the most educated, some of the most motivated businesses. We're operating in the space that's pretty lovely. Like we can sell edibles in a grocery store,
right,
at a gas station, at a hardware store,
at a workout gym.
I think the workout gym. So I think we're already unique in that aspect nationwide, and I think that environment created, a lot of businesses that are going to help form the OCM and keep them on track to creating a good marketplace here.
I just applied for the social equity director.
Yay.
I don't think I would be surprised if they gave me the chance, because I even closed my letter like I have irreverent honesty, and that probably will disqualify me. But I'm here for the OCM if they want to win.
Right.
Definitely, you are the man for the mission. Well, Clem, we could talk to you all day. So before we sign off, could you kind of tell us what's coming down the pipeline? You can share whatever you would like with us. But, I mean, you're amazing, and we would love to know more about what you have in store.
Cool. Yeah. So this week we're releasing 5 more seed varieties, some regular seeds. So we'll have 5 more seed varieties hit the market for A&D Genetics this week. Probably in about 2.5 months, we'll have some feminized seed for those outdoor growers. in terms of Doc Dabs, we're gonna have like one of these little shooter drink. It'll be a strawberry lemonade.
Ooh.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
We're just doing a couple new things. I think there was a hot sauce pretty much on the short term for Dr. Dabs. Another seasoning we're doing a collab with Animale's Barbecue on. Let's see what else we got. I wrote down
so much.
So I didn't miss anything. Yeah, hopefully a fruit syrup as well and some hot honey. We're just gonna keep on making some hits and keep on making things that people aren't making, and keep driving in our own lane.
Finding a
So
niche.
I gotta dig a little deeper.
Oh Lord.
Do you regret pursuing that director position?
Oh, that's very
Ooh, that's deep. I don't know. I'm kind of in. That's a good question. Kind of, but at the same time, no. I don't know. I'm waffling right now. Kind of yes, in that like I gave the government everything about me, and like I put in all this time. I put in a significant amount of time working on these different presentations I had to give for them, and just prepping, and like just filling out that dang background check form was like, dang, 8 hours. That was like the whole shift. So in that terms, I've kind of regretted that I put so much time into it. But I think the one thing is that like the people now see like I don't know, maybe I'm more of a conspiratorialist or whatever, but I think that the people don't necessarily always trust their government, and I think that this kind of highlighted like potential corruption in the cannabis space, and just showed like what kind of like they're up to when they're setting up the OCM. So it's like they're not choosing somebody who understands the industry. They just want to put a show they can control and power.
Oh my God! Ooh. We have to pause for the battery.
Maybe we should cut that.
I mean, I just have to say, I have a close friend who's the chair of the psychedelic medicine task force that's happening right now, and she did like a stream of consciousness, and she's talking about how when she left academia, she thought about going into government, but then she sees how these state government employees are so controlled that they can't even like express their honest beliefs and shit. So it's like, what kind of hope do we have for the OCM if they're not gonna like hire like progressive, creative, innovative type people?
I think you answered your question.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. I think that there's still ways to be involved. They got these surveys. I've been filling these out. I think that, you can always contact these people. These people are an email, or you can pop up at their office or a phone call away. So I think that like still informing these people and sharing your ideas with them is still a powerful thing. And I think and that's as much power I think you have in this type of system and in this type of environment.
Well, thank you, Clem, so much. We appreciate you, and you're a great friend to the show. So thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it very much.
Let's sign up for that Grow Big Plants class, and we'll see you there.
Bye.
See you then.
We're thrilled to announce the launch of the Friends of the Minnesota Cannabis College program, a unique opportunity for individuals and businesses alike to play a pivotal role in shaping the future of cannabis learning and industry networking in our state.
By joining as a friend, you're not just supporting our mission to foster a sustainable and inclusive cannabis community, you're gaining exclusive access to a comprehensive curriculum, expert-led workshops, and a vibrant network of professionals, educators, and advocates.
Whether you're a curious newcomer, a passionate enthusiast, or a seasoned professional, there's a level of friendship tailoring just for you. From seedling friends to best buds, each tier offers a unique benefit designed to grow your knowledge, connect you with like-minded individuals, and open doors to new learning.
And for businesses, our partnership levels provide unparalleled access to training, promotional opportunities, and exclusive events, setting the stage for your success and your team in Minnesota's flourishing cannabis market.
Join our vibrant community today as a friend of the Minnesota Cannabis College and help us to cultivate a brighter future for cannabis education and advocacy. Become a friend today at mncannabiscollege.org/friends.
We'll see you soon.
And we're back, sitting here today in the studio with two amazing people that I've gotten to know in the industry over the past year plus, however long it's been. Here with Kayla Fearing and Adam Wagner. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Hello.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
so
for having us.
first off, can you do a little bit of an introduction on who you are, what brought you to this industry, and what is it that you do here in Minnesota?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'll go first because ladies first. So I'm Kayla Fearing, and my company is Healing Fear Consulting, and I am a healthcare consultant, and I help patients get off opioids and alcohol and onto cannabis products. Thank you. Onto cannabis products and cannabinoid products. I really try to work with patients who have chronic illness or past athletes, Alzheimer's and dementia patients, autism, to really help find the right product for their diagnosis. My background is healthcare. I worked in physical therapy before COVID, lost my job as a physical therapy tech in May of 2020, moved out to Michigan, worked in cannabis out there for 2 years, worked in Illinois for a year in cannabis, and then came back to Minnesota last October.
Very cool. Yeah, I've gotten to know you, especially during that bill drafting process of, and I can say this so lovingly now, if you were the person in the back who was shouting at me and telling me how wrong I was, and now I know how right you were, and it's really, it's been cool getting to know you and learn a little bit more about that medical side of the industry, especially in other states like Michigan.
Yeah, it's been really cool to kind of fuse my background with medicine and now with cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I was raised by a grower.
I love that. Well, Adam, a little bit about yourself.
So my name's Adam Wagner. I started Twin Cities THC back in like 2016 or 2017 in the early hemp days, just because I saw like a lack of education in the state of Minnesota behind like how to grow. I saw a lot of growers at the time still wanting to be like underground and not really wanting to show face. And I felt like in order for us to get legalization, for us to move ahead in the world, we needed to educate the public, educate the population, and then teach people how to grow so they can just do it themselves. I started growing, I want to say over 10 years ago, just because it was too expensive to buy it from my friend anymore. Although I really appreciate him, and it was great for him to give me all the cannabis that he did over the years, but like, man, $50 Ace are crazy.
100%.
So as soon as you find a seed in there, you're like, all right, let's go, let's grow. And I did, and it just so happened to be like a G13 seed. And I was like, all right, it failed miserably. I overwatered it really bad. There was no drainage holes or anything like that. So I took that opportunity. I was like, learning is something I'm really passionate about, just figuring things out and kind of figuring it out on my own for one. So I was like, well, let's go, let's grow.
I love that. Yeah, what I really appreciate about both of you and why I'm excited to have you here today is there's a number of people that I can think of in the industry that are very education focused, and you guys sort of fit into that bubble of we're not just here to consume cannabis, we're not just here to sell cannabis, but we're really here to help educate people on how they can use cannabis, how it can fit into their lives, how they can grow cannabis. I think really, I really appreciate being able to share this space of education with you guys.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And it's funny, Adam was actually the first person besides my own family in Minnesota that I knew that grew cannabis, and we actually met on Facebook back in like 2015 because a friend of mine from high school introduced me to him because he was like, hey, I know you're really into cannabis advocacy. At the time I was, but I wasn't really out with it because I worked in medicine. So this friend of ours actually was like, add this Twin Cities THC on Facebook, and I was so hesitant. I was like, who is this narc? But then now I know he's one of the coolest people I've met in the state. So,
Oh, thank you.
Cool.
yeah.
Well, so we're definitely going to have you guys back in the future to talk a little bit more about each of your businesses, to talk a little bit more, especially on that medical side. That's a really important thing. And honestly, we could have you guys on to talk about so many things. But one of the things that I'm really excited to be able to talk to you guys about today is House File 3766. So a bill in the legislature today. Instead of me giving a brief introduction, can you tell us a little bit about what this bill is and the main mission behind it?
Absolutely. So HF 3766 is kind of like my baby in this whole cannabis legalization world. When I went out to Michigan in 2020 and got on their medical program, they have a third industry called a Caregiver program. Minnesota has a caregiver definition in our law, but it's not to the same extent. A caregiver program would be where if I can't grow or if a patient can't grow, you can assign someone to have your home grow rights for you. So in my case, my dad has grown my whole life. He teaches me how to grow now. He grows most of the cannabis I smoke. So he would be the person, hypothetically, I could give my rights to. He could grow certain strains for me for my medical diagnoses. That's what I dealt with in Michigan. I had a caregiver. I also, at one point, did not have a caregiver, so then I had my grow rights back. It also gives the patient just more choice of where their medicine is from. My biggest issue with Minnesota's medical program, besides it being so restrictive, is that any product I've ever smoked from, it has not been up to a high quality for my health diagnosis, for my standard. Just an example, like there's been reports that they've had moldy weed. I have a lung issue, so I can't smoke moldy weed, or it's like game over for me, putting my health at risk. So that's really why I wanted to push a caregiver program, because I also know there are so many people growing black market right now who are growing for their friends and family, that are growing for a medicinal use, not just a recreational party product.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. From that growing side, Adam, can you tell us a little bit about, like, as a grower, if someone was to give you like 16 plants that you were able to work with, be able to grow for them, I mean, what would that like look like on the turnaround? Like from the patient perspective, does that mean, you know, like I have friends that have grown at home and they got like an ounce from their plant. Like if you actually know someone who has that growing background, has that knowledge, what are you able to do with 16 plants?
Quite a lot, depending on the situation. But really the idea behind it is to kind of mimic what the legacy market is doing right now, where, say, you have 8 or 9 friends, or is it 8? 6? Okay.
We're at 6 right now.
We're at 6 right now. 6 friends of yours that regularly pick up cannabis from you, and you're able to have this intimate relationship with them where you know them better than the pharmacist or the bud tender at the local store. So having that intimate knowledge of somebody and how they interact with the world can help you pick and choose what cannabis, your strains or cultivars you're going to use. Especially seeing as how like some of these shops just pick the hype strains. You know, everybody's got cookies, everybody's got runts, everybody's got mimosa cuts. Like everybody's got the same thing in all of these stores because it's what's hot and what sells. And what sells inside of a store is what sells and what they sell and what they market and what they grow.
And that's a recreational market per se standard, where if you're looking for a medical product, you want something that's going to fit with your body, not just if it smells good or it's got a Runts name on it.
Or has those cardboard terps that most of these places are known for.
Yeah.
Delicious.
You mean as a med patient, that bag appeal isn't what you're looking for most? It's just looking cool isn't the most important thing for medicine?
And that has been my hardest issue, being a Minnesotan and moving out of state and seeing a different cannabis industry. Then coming back to Minnesota is I don't feel like we're looking at that bag appeal. We don't want that, but that's what we're being offered. That is all we're being offered.
Yeah. So sort of on that point, you've mentioned some of these problems that exist in Minnesota. Like the reports of mold is one that's deeply concerning, I think, for a number of people, but also just that lack of access. I mean, you go and you find the cultivar, like, hey, finally I found one that works well for me. Oh, I guess they decided to stop growing that one because it didn't sell well, or they stopped for whatever reason. Can you tell us a little bit about how this type of program would help address some of those problems?
I'm so glad you brought that one up as an example. One of the dispensaries changes their sativa strains, or it's like they use colors instead of the actual name. And when I first moved back to Minnesota, I had a patient who started having panic attacks because she was used to their Pineapple Express strain, and they switched on her. And all she knew was it was the color red. So they kept selling her a sativa, but it wasn't working with her body. So that is literally why I started my company, Healing Fear, was because there were so many patients coming into the dispensary I worked at who were so confused on the proper strain for themselves. So with Minnesota's medical program, since it's so restrictive, everyone's sick on it, I wanted to try to offer the best products to the sick. So they didn't feel like they were trapped with just having to buy in 2 different tunnels, Rise or Green Goods, and be forced to buy product just because that's all they have. So that's where I really think a program like this would help address that, because you would have someone like Adam or your caregiver addressing your medical diagnosis. Like, I have mental issues. I also have physical issues where I don't want an indica for my mental health issues, but I want an indica for my body issues. So that's where someone who has that knowledge of the cultivars comes into play big time with that. And that's what our medical dispensaries do not offer to patients.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So I've talked in the past about how I'm a med patient here on Minnesota's program. don't do a lot of shopping at the shops, but I have my med card, and I had that experience of, you know, you can go in and buy the vapes. It's like, all right, so I want this vape. Well, what profile is vape number 17? And you have to call, and like sometimes they know, and like, all right, so they tell you, all right, it's sour diesel or whatever. Yeah. So then, can you tell me what terpenes are in that? Oh, well, it's sour diesel, and it's like, oh, well, that doesn't help me at all. Whereas I love what you said, as the grower, you just know so much more about the product than the person who's sitting at the counter answering phone calls.
Correct. And that's what I learned going out to Michigan was I had the medical background, so I was hired immediately when I put my application to a dispensary in Ann Arbor, where if you've ever been to Ann Arbor, Michigan, every other block you have 2 dispensaries. It's very oversaturated right now in the rec market, not the medical market. A lot of those stores gave up their dual medical license because they didn't want to have to pay the certain fees that came with that. They just wanted the rec money. So nonetheless, with that, because I had that medical background, they hired me right away. And all my coworkers were just college kids that worked at the U of M that were selling the highest percentage cannabis, the trendy brand names to really sick people. And that's where I started to get kind of like defiant with my management, is I'm like, I'm actually going to take this little old lady in the corner and talk to her for 45 minutes because I wanted people to understand what they were getting.
That makes sense. And then just because we're a Minnesota podcast, when you said U of M, you mean the University of Michigan,
yes,
right?
Unfortunately, the Wolverines. I'm a gopher, so yeah, not my favorite.
No, I'm just kidding.
But they do good weed studies.
There we go. Yeah. Well, and I mean,
shout out Clemon too at the U of M, MN.
Well, and talk about like having an established cannabis culture. Like Minnesota is cool. I think we've had this unique one underground for a while, but Michigan is
Hash Bash in Ann Arbor, all that. And that was, as a Minnesotan, I went out there so naive to Hash Bash. And they were like, come with us, let us teach you. And that's where I really like Michigan's cannabis market, because it wasn't this trendy California, like, we're going to smoke all day, this kind of thing. It was really used like, we don't trust our doctors here, so we're using this third industry.
That makes sense. So walk us through a little bit of, if this bill were to pass, it goes into effect, we see it go into effect this summer. What would it mean for me as a patient? Like, what would that actually, like in reality, look like?
So what that would mean is, everyone, if HF 3766 passes, if you are a grower like Adam or anyone else, you'd be able to register as a cannabis caregiver with the state of Minnesota. So what that is you're pretty much letting the state know, hey, I'm growing cannabis. I'm growing it for patients. I'm not trying to be some trapper black market person. And that's what Michigan did, and it worked very, very well. They had this really good honor system with the growers and the patients and the state. It's kind of like what Minnesota's going through right now. Our OCM is kind of still building itself. We don't have a director yet. We really don't have the foot troops on the ground to be enforcing all these laws. So it would really be a waste of like our taxpayer money to send people in to bust down home grows if they have 8 plants more or 10 plants more than they're supposed to, especially if they're growing for sick family members or sick friends. That's kind of just where my empathy comes from with like a medical background is, why are we bugging people who are just making medicine? Like, leave them be. So you'd be able to register as a caregiver. You'd have your max amount of patients. And if you were a patient, you'd also be registering with the state. You would also still have to have your Minnesota med card. That would kind of be like the catch-22. So you're letting the state know, hey, I'm being compliant because I am a med patient, but I don't want to buy your medicine. I'm going private. It's just like if you wanted to have someone privately paint your bathroom instead of you doing it. That's how I kind of keep looking at it. Or if you choose to go to a farmer's market rather than go to Cub Foods.
I think it might even be a little bit better than that, because we're able to like eliminate the business aspect of cannabis in general and put it back into just me and you. You know, what can I do for you and how can I help you heal in your journey and whatever that means. So like getting out of that business aspect, I think personally is huge for the future of the industry, 8-9 years down the road when it's all bottomed out because so many people are saturating the market and throwing mids out like they do in the industry.
I love that.
I don't love that. There's great growers here. Great growers. Just stop bringing packs from Colorado. We got it all here.
Correct. And then with that too, like he said, you would have that patient and caregiver relationship. They would know how much you're using every month. And instead of charging for that flower, the caregiver is charging you for a service. So Adam could charge me for his water, for his gas to drive to my house, for me texting him certain memes about weed, whatever. It just wouldn't be the price of that cannabis, and that's where it would not be taxed.
Okay.
Is that takes the tax piece out of it and puts it again. It's a medical product. You're buying a medical product. Don't tax it.
That's very cool.
So
I love sort of not only the expanded medical access that comes from a measure like this, but also hearing the OCM over and over again say social equity and ease of access to the industry are like our two main goals. This almost sounds like a bill that would accomplish not only those two, but also this third of expanding medical access by allowing the people that are already doing the growing, acknowledging that this existed for decades here, and trying to create that path to legal operation.
Yep, and that's where, again, this is like very genuinely deep to my heart because I was raised by a grower. I was raised by someone who had 5, 6, 7 people that would consistently come and buy cannabis. It wasn't a trap house. Nobody knew because it was a patient-caregiver relationship. So even growing up, even before I was in the medical world, I saw cannabis as a medicine because it was never in my home taught to be a recreational product. So even now when I sold rec weed, when I sold medical weed in Michigan, it was still the same strain. It was still the same product. It just had a different metric number on it for licensing. So that's where this would also eliminate that. I really want the craft growers in Minnesota be put on the pedestal rather than the corporations.
That definitely makes sense. So you've talked to a number of people about this measure. This is not something that like you're just coming up with this session. This is something you've been pushing for a while. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those, the main arguments that people are saying sort of against this measure, and then what you say in response to some of those?
Yeah, so I've been working on this or trying to like put it in the politicians' heads since last session. And the biggest pushback so far really has just been like the defining of testing. Are we going to test? Are we not going to test? I'm protest testing as a medical background. I think if you're going to be selling your cannabis in any way or your services, it should be tested. The only issue I saw with that being out in Michigan was there were labs that would not test home grow. They would only test recreational licenses, medical licenses, because of the Farm Bill and federal legalization status. If it wasn't hemp, they wouldn't test it. So that's where I wanted to try to get this put into the legislation without having that be like brick and mortar in the law right now. So people could get out there and these labs could be developed and these labs could decide, are we going to accept home grow? Or are we not going to accept home grow? I also feel just culturally, cannabis growers are some of the like safest growers there are because they're also consuming their product themselves. So that's where I haven't been like, we need everything to be tested right now. Because I would trust something that I would get from my caregiver right now. I wouldn't think they were putting pesticides in there that I was going to consume or spraying their flower with fake terps or anything like that. So it's one of those cultural things too amongst the cannabis industry and the medical side too with the testing, I think.
That definitely makes sense.
Yep.
When I think like the dirty secret of the industry right now is everyone looks at testing and says like, oh, that means whatever you buy is safe. And well, I think like cannabis is a safe plant, generally speaking. Like we've seen with some issues, perhaps just to avoid libel, perhaps out of medical companies here in Minnesota, like testing doesn't mean that when the consumer gets a product, it's safe for them to consume.
It does not.
There's so many things that can happen along the road that, yes, I think testing is important, and I agree with you guys on that. But I think that when we look at what the purpose of testing is, if it's just to ensure that it's a high quality product that is safe for people to consume, I think there's a number of ways to achieve that end mission 100%. That isn't just throwing a lab report and then letting it sit on a shelf for a couple months.
Yep, I definitely agree with you on that, Tanner. And yeah, it's like you said, it's not, even if they pass these tests, it doesn't mean it's still safe for consumption. And I saw that also in Michigan in shops I worked at. It's not just a single state, it's every state. It's just when things are mass produced, you run into issues. Just like if it was a vegetable, I personally feel like. So yeah. And
I've heard that some of those tests are editable PDF documents in other states. I don't know.
Maybe other states.
Yeah.
Definitely not here.
Not here. No.
We have integrity.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so on the other side, we talked about some of the things that people might have concerns about. But if you were to sort of give like your 1 minute elevator spiel, maybe you trapped a certain senator in an elevator as you're moving up the Capitol, what would you say to them on why this is really something that we need here in Minnesota?
Again, using my medical background on this argument, every time I run into a politician, it really comes down to patient access. And again, using myself as an example, I tried for years to get on Minnesota's medical program and I couldn't. So again, that would force me then right back to the black market if I didn't want to use opioids. So I go out to Michigan, I get put on their med program. I was completely spoiled because then I had so much access to different medications. I could shop rec, I could shop med, I could access caregivers. They have like farmers markets for caregivers out in Michigan. So I could go to a swamp meet on a Saturday morning, meet 5-6 new caregivers in case I ever wanted to fire my grower. Usually doesn't happen though. And just got to network and really see who was growing what in the state of Michigan, who had what medicines and why they had those medicines. There were people that would specialize in PTSD strains. For veterans, there were people that would specialize in strains that they were going to get a lot of plant matter out of so they could make RSO. It really, again, made the grower's craft more of an artistry rather than this big corporate industry that's going to make everybody a bunch of money. Because like I said before, rec product is the same as medical product, so I'm always so confused myself on why we're not just calling it medical product across the board. It's not like they're taking the THC out of the medical product to just make it medicinal. You need all those things. So
I know we've as an industry come up with so many labels for like, well, it's medical. No, it's medicinal. Oh no, it's wellness.
It
oh
is
no,
cannabis.
it's cannabis. Yeah,
it is cannabis.
Yeah.
No one I know personally uses cannabis just to use cannabis. If you ask them like, hey, why do you use cannabis? Oh, I have social anxiety. That's an issue. Oh, I have stomach issues. That's an issue. Oh, I'm tired. That's an issue. So it's never just I do it. There's always a medical reason. So it's just a medical product in my mind.
I thought we were all just looking cool. That's not.
Oh wait.
I mean,
What?
this is pretty.
I mean, you look pretty cool. Yeah, I'll be honest. That's
I would show
pretty
me.
sweet.
I just put lipstick on.
Well, truly, guys, thank you so much for coming in today. Thank you so much for the effort that you're putting into this bill. I think having known medical patients in my life, having experienced as a medical patient myself, having seen our industry having so many cool parts of it, seeing this big deficit of our medical access, I really think that's something that is an opportunity here in Minnesota to use our positive language. And I hope that we see this measure make it across the finish line this session.
Me too. I really hope we can get in a committee. That way people can have their voices heard. I really want to thank everyone who's written me statements this week because that was the biggest request I had from the politicians was, if you guys want this, why do you want this? I think in the last 2 days I've gotten about 19 statements sent to me.
Awesome.
And everybody's really got this, super good. Thank you, Minnesota. And everyone's got kind of the same 3 points. It's really expensive, and a lot of people can't afford their medication. So then they're being forced to go back to the black market because they're sick and they want to use cannabis as their medicine. They don't want to go back to opioids. They don't want to go back to wine. They don't want to go back to these negative things on our bodies. They want to go back to a more natural substance.
I love that.
So.
Well, so if people want to follow along with the bill sort of throughout the session, where would people send either to follow along or to connect with you about this?
So Rep Jess Hansen out of Burnsville is the House rep that's carrying this bill for me right now. I do have a senator, but they have not dropped it yet, so I'm not going to name drop them.
Totally.
They're from St. Paul, though. But nonetheless, so I have it in there. The best thing I would suggest to people is this is also why I asked for zip codes on my statements, is you can give me your zip code if you want on my social media. On Instagram, I'm KFear11. Otherwise, you can find me on Facebook and my website, healingfearconsulting.com. If you give me your zip code, I will find you who your rep is. And all you have to do is just send a really nice little short email to your rep that just says, I support this bill. You don't even have to go into length. They just need to see that people are doing this. That's their biggest confusion is they are kind of naive, unfortunately. Some of the non-cannabis reps I've talked to, the people who weren't really involved in HF 100 last year, they don't think anyone's growing or they think that everyone's just growing 4 plants. Yeah. And I know that's not true, people. I'm okay with that, but no, it's not true.
We're all growing 4 plants.
Just 4.
Not true.
4 in flower, 8.
The Pisces in me can't allow this.
They immediately die when you try to grow more.
Yeah.
Mine do.
Yeah.
So that is where it's legal. You can tell your reps you smoke. You can also be anonymous. Just let me know and I will help you connect with the people if you want to be involved in this.
Awesome. And then Adam, if they want to follow along with Twin Cities THC, where can they go to follow along with that?
So I'm mainly on Instagram, but Facebook kind of does the copy and paste type stuff. So I'm on there too. But follow me on Twin Cities THC official on Instagram. I have a website, twincitiesthc.com. I don't update it as often as I should, but Instagram is the main number one.
Awesome. Sounds
Delicious chocolate covered caramels.
Oh.
Buy them on his website.
Yeah, for real. So we're going to be sampling them on the podcast here very soon. We're going to talk about that
together
after.
when we come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we'll be right back. Thank you guys again so much for coming
Thanks
on.
so much, Tanner.
Thank you so much,
appreciate
Tanner.
All right, and that's all that we've got for today. Thanks again so much to Dr. Dabbs for coming on, sharing his insights, talking about that March class. Really looking forward to that one. Thanks again so much to Kayla and Adam for coming on, sharing their insights about House File 3766, an important bill.
3766. Don't forget it. 3766.
Sure hope we're right about that one. 3766. Check out that bill, House File 3766. Call your legislator, learn a little bit more about that. But that's all we got for today.
I think we should take a break. I think we should get some rest.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a busy week. And we forgot one more. Thanks again so much to Melo for coming on, telling us a little bit more about their product. Really encourage people to come to the Dabbler Depot where we're at right now. Try that product. Try some of the amazing things that they've got going on here. It's fun having pop-ups here all the time. Really, it's sort of dangerous, but it's really good. It's really good.
Honestly, I love that the Minnesota beverage scene has THC sampling events in our liquor stores and our hemp retail outlets.
Oh yeah.
So unique, so organic, and we are a part of the movement that has provided this opportunity.
For sure. Yeah, it's one of those things you don't really get in other states as fully and as formed out as you do here in Minnesota. Really, it's just one of those things that's just it's cool to be in the state of Minnesota cannabis.
Yeah, and it doesn't have these, out of control circumstances that arise. It's adoptable.
It's almost as if someone trying 1 milligram isn't going to ruin their whole day. It's insane. Well, truly, thanks to the Dabbler Depot for having us out here, having us in the studio. Really cannot thank them enough. Come on out here, get some products, get some seeds, get a grow book or two. I heard they were written by the Minnesota Cannabis College.
Yeah, check out the Cannabis College website.
Neat, yeah.
Always new things going on.
Oh, yeah. We've got some upcoming classes in March and April going on forward.
May.
Oh, yeah, I know. Truly coming up a lot. So keep checking that stuff out. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, LinkedIn, YouTube, our website, all that good jazz. mncannabiscollege.org in case you haven't heard it enough times in this episode or other episodes. mncannabiscollege.org. Go check that out. Come to YouTube, leave a comment, share with your friends, give us one of those thumb up like things. We really appreciate it. It's always cool when you leave your comments and share a little bit more about your thoughts on the industry. We love all the comments, so keep them coming. But yeah, we should go take a break.
Thank you. Can we go to bed now?
Yeah. Okay. We'll be back in your feeds in just about a week here. Thank you all. Have a good rest of your day. Northern Lights is a Minnesota Cannabis College production. This episode was produced by me, Tanner Barris, and by my co-hosts John Barty and Marcus Harkis. Production assistance from Shayna Payton and Steve Eigenman. Today's episode is presented by North Star Law Group, your trusted partner in Minnesota's burgeoning legal cannabis industry. The information provided in this podcast does not and is not intended to constitute legal advice, but is instead for general information purposes only. Information shared may not constitute the most up-to-date or legal information. No listener should act solely on the basis of information provided without first seeking their own legal counsel. The opinions and views expressed on this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect those of the Minnesota Cannabis College. Please listen responsibly.